Hey, hi, good evening, everyone. Good evening, friends. Right, welcome back to our 20 days program on Power BI. And we have successfully completed 10 days of this particular program. So, it means we have successfully completed half of this program, right? So, the rest of the half, starting from today, for the next coming 10 days, we are going to work on a topic called visualizations. Okay, so is it an important topic, or is it capable of discussing for uh, half? Okay, so if that is your question, yes, Power BI, you know, it is a tool which was designed to visualize the data. Okay, so what is the main purpose of using Power BI is we are capable of making reports. Okay, we can create dashboards. So reports, dashboards, what are all these? We'll understand, friends. Probably we have understood the definition, but practically we haven't, right? So we'll understand one by one. And moreover, I'm asking you not to sign into Power BI desktop. Why? I will probably discuss in the coming next 5 days. Right. So we'll quickly revise what we have covered in the past session, the last one. So in the last session, we have successfully completed DAX, data analysis expressions. Okay, so we have understood how we are able to create different measures and different columns, calculated measures and calculated columns. So majority of those are related to, date related, time related functions that we have come up with. And if you observe properly, even the calculate function is used by. Okay, what we have done is just changing the filter. By just changing the filter, we were able to achieve the output. That's what we have done. Right now, so today we are going to start with a new topic. So it is data visualization. So what do you mean by data visualization? What is the general meaning of data visualization? The data that we have, we are trying to visualize it. What is the meaning of visualization? You can, okay. So friends, if you want to get the documentation for DAX, data analysis expressions, probably you have to go through Microsoft official site. Okay, so if you go to my official site of Microsoft, you'll have the complete information for Power BI. Okay, so depending on the topic, not only for DAX, we'll have a Power Query Editor, then modeling, visualizations, DAX, everything for each and every component. Okay, for each and every topic that is part of Power BI, we'll have the in-depth documentation available in the official site of Microsoft. Okay, so probably whenever you're free, just go through the documentation, friends, because uh, especially if I want you guys to talk about DAX, for DAX, Power BI offers 600 to 700 programs. Okay, I mean 600 to 700 functions. For each and every function, what should be the syntax? You'll have the information. Then under each and every function, what are the different parameters that I used? Again, so you'll have the complete information, friends, right? So just go through the official site of Microsoft. That's not a big challenge for us. You know, just go and browse, friends. Right. If not, probably, if you're unable to find the DAX documentation, I'll do one thing. I'll get the link, and I'll make sure that this link is available under DAX sessions. Okay. So in the last sessions, probably I think it's 4 sessions we have utilized for DAX. So under all these 4 sessions of DAX, I'll do one thing. Let me, keep the link of this DAX documentation. That would help you. Right? So, what is the meaning for visualization? Probably, representing data in pictures, in graph, in visuals. Yes, we are going to visualize the data. So that means pictorially we are going to see the data. And moreover, if you have data in a structured format, you may or may not get more insights. But when you visualize your data, you'll get n number of insights. And using these insights, you know, you can go for probably the respective actions. Okay, so based on the insight, you'll take an action. I mean, you referring to the client. So client will take an action, and these actions will reflect in revenue, profits, right? So, friends, so today we are going to start the new topic. It's you know data visualization. So especially when you are learning this particular topic, data visualization, under the visualizations pane, you will have all the visuals. These are called as visuals. Okay, how many visuals are there in Power BI? Don't assume only these 40 or 50 visuals, because Power BI offers, around 200 to 300 visuals. Okay, and majority of these visuals will be used for same purpose. Okay, so which visual are you going to use, and what is your requirement, how you want to showcase the data to the client? Everything depends upon the requirement, right? Yes. So in order to get more visuals, so friends, don't assume only these visuals are available in Power BI. No, you see get more visuals option. So when you click on this get more visuals, again a pop-up window opens, and there are n number of visuals available. And whatever the visual you want to use, you have to click on the get option, so that that particular visual gets added to this list, and then you can use it. But when I am I'll just try it out. Just just observe. I'm clicking on get more visuals. What did it ask? It is asking me to sign in, to complete this sign in process, but I'll not do it now. I know when I have to do, so I'll not do it now. Because friends, you know this Power BI you cannot access through your Gmails, your personal mail IDs. Either you should get an organization mail, okay, or even though if you have used your Gmail, it does not last for long time. Okay, so I tell you what we have to do. Don't be too fast, because there is a process for doing this sign in. We'll explain, we'll discuss, right? So we'll start with scratch. Okay, so you see there is dotted lines, there is a box in dotted lines. So this is called as canvas, friends. This is called as canvas. So in this canvas, we are going to visualize our data. So under the report view, you'll find this canvas. How can you zoom in? You have the bar over here for zooming in and zooming out. I'll just zoom in. You see how it is zoomed in? So this is the canvas. So by default, you'll find it in a white background. You can also format the canvas. There are settings for the canvas, isn't it? Yes. So under the visualizations pane itself, you see format your report page. Yes. Again, what is a report? Report is nothing but it's a page. Page 1, page 2, Page 3, that means 4 pages, nothing but 4 reports. A report is a page in which we can have a single tile or multiple tiles, right? So each and every page is actually, a report. So I don't want to have multiple pages for time being. I'll remove them off. I'm deleting all. I'll click on this cross mark symbol and it is giving me a pop-up. I'll delete. Okay, so by default you will see the canvas in background color, and you see we have formatting options for the page. For the pages we have the formatting options. So the first option is page information. Page information. So what does it say? It is asking us the name. By default it takes, you know the sequential numbering, page 1, page 2, page 3, so on. If you don't want to have it as page 1, you can change it. You can change it. How? See, probably for timing, I'll make it as visuals. I'm changing here. Immediately, it's reflecting in the downside. So once if you're done, click on enter. That's it. Then next to page information, we'll have canvas settings. Okay. By default, this type will be 16 is to 9. 16 by 9. Okay. So if you don't want to have 16 by 9, you can change the type for the canvas. Let me go with 4 by 3. 4 is to 3. See. So this is 4 is to 3, friends. 4 is to 3. Again, if you are not satisfied with 4 is to 3, if you want to make it as a letter, so this is how a letter, probably a A4 sheet. Yes. Okay. So in an A4 sheet, we have it for the type. Then tooltip. So it's very small. Okay. Probably you're able to see like a box, square box. Then custom. You can also customize your height and width. So it's up to you. When you keep it as custom, height and width will be available for changing. You can change these values, and you can customize your height and width. Okay, so I'll not change the type. I'll go with 16 by 9 because I'm satisfied with this. And then, so this is what we have with respect to canvas settings. Then next to canvas settings, you'll have canvas background. Canvas background, you know what is the background that you have? White for the canvas. So let me change it to some orange. Actually, even after changing the color, I don't see any kind of difference. Friends, you are supposed to reduce the transparency. See, make it 0. Probably, then if not, transparency is nothing but increasing the contrast. Yes, you see, you adjust. So this, instead of white, what we are doing, we are going to have orange, and I just used the transparency as 62. If not, I'll probably make it as 50. So this is actually giving me a kind of pale orange, light orange. Yes. And friends, one thing that I have to tell, I'm not, good at colors. So don't scold me, or don't just hate me because of using wrong colors. So upfront, I'm telling you, I'm not that much good at identifying the colors. For me, this is orange, this is blue, dark blue, kind of, or violet, purple, pink. That's it. And rest of these I don't know. Probably I'll use light blue, such kind of things. Okay, so just ignore them. Right. So when you increase or decrease this transparency, you are able to see what? The background for your canvas. So if you don't want to have it for white background, you know, You go and change your color. What is your requirement? I mean, you know, you go and choose your custom color, customize it. Okay, so this means I can customize my canvas background. Then, if not, assume that you have a client's logo as an image. You can also use that image as your canvas background, isn't it? Yes. So how is, when you click on this image, what happens is probably it redirects us to the local machine folders wherever we have that image. We are supposed to go and select that image. So we have to navigate to the location and then select the image, open it. So that will be your canvas background. That particular image will be added as your canvas background. I'm not using any image, but just to explain, yes, there is an option of using an image for canvas background. Then once if you're done with the background settings and all, you will have every option, every formatting option under these visualizations pane, you will have reset to default. What does this reset to default does is, after changing the options as per your requirement, okay, so if you're not satisfied with the output, you can click on this reset to default. So the moment you click on reset to default, it by default goes to the default options, default values for the options. So white color is being used, yes. So the white color you see for canvas background. So this reset to default, you will have it for all of the options, friends. Okay, for all the options under this format, I mean visualizations pane, when you are formatting any visual, okay, you'll have this reset to default. We'll discuss again. So we were able to even focus. We were able to change the background of the canvas. Perfect. What if I want to change, or if I want to format the wallpaper? Where is wallpaper first of all? Wallpaper means this one, friends. So this dotted lines is called as canvas. This is called as canvas. Okay. Next to canvas, you see again white, screen. The gap between filters pane and the canvas. This is called as wallpaper. Okay. So this is called as wallpaper, and we can also format the wallpaper. We have the formatting options for the wallpaper. So first, in order to understand what is a wallpaper and all, change the color, you'll understand. See. Okay. Again, don't assume this entire thing is wallpaper, friends. This is canvas, because canvas is not using any color. White by default, it's going to take white. So it is when we have changed the color for the wallpaper, it is getting occupied for entire canvas and wallpaper. Okay, even you can also use an image as the wallpaper. Okay, uh, and same options, we can reduce the transparency, increase the transparency, and all. Okay, upon you again, if you're not satisfied, click on reset to default. So these are the major important options. And filters pane, filters cards are nothing but this one, friends. I'll talk about this later, not now. So I hope the formatting options with respect to canvas wallpaper is clear. Okay. Now we'll start the actual journey of data visualization. Okay. So you know before we have to we are going to understand the data visualization part. First, we have to have the data. Is there any data available in Power BI? No. So let us load the data set first. Let us import the data into Power BI. Then we'll go and work on the visuals. We'll visualize this data using visuals. Okay. So for that, I'm going to use, probably you might have remembered this data. For which component did we use this data? Any idea? Just go and, quickly recap whatever we have understood so far with respect to this program. Power Query Editor was completed. Data modeling, nothing but Power Pivot was completed. Then DAX was completed. So three main topics got completed, and uh, the last topic, that is data visualization, is left out. And I'm going to take the same data we have used for data modeling. It's not Power Query Editor, data modeling. You remember data modeling? What is the main purpose of bringing the data into models? If the data is present in redundant format, it occupies more space, it consumes more memory, and what does it do? It is actually going to create some anomalies. Okay, so for that, what we have done, we have created fact table, dimension tables. Yes, we normalize the data. So this is the output of data modeling. See, in data modeling, we have all these five tables in one table, friends. But using data modeling, we normalize the data. But before going and using this data modeling, the data is in denormalized way. So, friends, if you have, if you're not that aware of the topic, or if you have missed the session, just go and complete of data modeling part. So this particular data is the output of data modeling. So I'm going to use the same data, friends. So let me, the same process, Excel workbook, then probably store data normalized is my data set. Yes. So these five tables are the different tables that we have. Okay. So I'm going to load all the five tables because we're going to visualize this data. So I'll select all the five tables. Done. They got selected. Then should I go with load data or transform data? If I go with load data, the data will be loaded to Power BI desktop. But if I go and click on transform data, data will be loaded to Power Query Editor for doing any kind of cleaning activities. For transforming the data, Power Query Editor gets open. So the best option is clicking on transform data. Why? Because it's better if you go and check whether the headers are identified properly, then whether the data types for each and every column, each and every field, are they identified properly or not. Let us go into it. I'm clicking on transform data so that the data gets imported to Power Query Editor. So this particular component, now let me start from the customer table. You see, customer ID, it's a number, identified properly. Name, text, gender, text, age, number. So everything was done properly, no issues. Then second table, dates. Date is the column in which we have the date related data. So calendar, this is calendar. Okay. So this is also done in the right way. So friends, this is mandatory. Before you do any kind of task, make sure that Power BI is recognizing the headers in a right way, and moreover, depending on the data that we have, is the tech, I mean, Is the data type identified properly or not? We have to go and cross check. And if you have any kind of errors or missing values, okay, you make sure you treat them, duplicates and all. Okay, so this is also fine for me, no issues. Then sales table, 1 2 3, customer ID, again number. This is also good. Finally, stores, text. Okay, number again. So every query, for every table, you know, Power BI have done in a right way. So there is no, it does not, or it made our work free. To be frank, yeah, it reduced our work. So I'm clicking on close and apply. So the moment we selected, we have clicked on close and apply, the data gets loaded back to Power BI desktop and it closes Power Query Editor. It closes Power Query Editor. You see, under the data pane, we have all the five queries, all the five tables, and all the five queries are alphabetically arranged. C, D, P, S, S. Okay, so all of them are alphabetically arranged. And before that, I'll again go and cross check under the model view. Is the relationship identified or not? Yes, it is identified. Power pivot, friends. Okay, so even Power pivot being you know intelligent, it identifies the relation between the tables. So if there are any common columns and all, it identifies the relationships. Right. So these topics all are covered. Right. I'm not again repeating these topics. I'll directly jump into data visualization. Right. So the first visualization that we are going to understand is table chart, also called as table visual. Table chart, table visual, both are same. So where do we have this table chart? Under the visualizations pane, okay, under the visualizations pane, fifth row, fourth column. Okay, so if you just hover your mouse onto the visual, you'll see a message, a pop-up message as table. This is a table chart. This is a table visual. Okay, what I'm doing is, yes, what I'm doing is I'm going to work on table visual, table chart. Again, how are we supposed to load a visual into page or report is just go and select it or just go and click on the visual so that that particular visual gets loaded into the report, the page. Okay, friends, for the first time we are going to discuss all these visualizations, right? So that is the reason I'm being very slow. Please concentrate. Probably from tomorrow I'll not maintain the same pace. Okay, so if you understand one particular visual, how are we going to use the options, the formatting options and all, you'll understand for rest of the visuals. So concentrate. Now I see a boundary, a box for table chart, but rest of the charts or rest of the visuals don't have any kind of boundary or box. The reason is in the report we have selected table chart. Because of that, we see a box. The table chart is inside a square box. Okay, how to unselect a visual? Just click on the white space next to the visual. Wherever there is white space, Just click on the white space so that it is unselecting a visual. Okay, so now you see the same square box? No. Why? Table chart is no more, it is in selected part. Okay, it is unselected. Right. Again, how I can select it? Go and click on the visual. Okay, so you see red color lines, they are used for alignment, friends. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'll make it bit, you know, making it big in size. Now I'll use the data which is present inside these tables and I'll visualize the data using a table chart. First of all, what is the purpose of a table chart? When you would like to have your data in a detailed manner, what do you mean by detailed manner? That means, see, the, uh, is the data in a detailed manner? Yes. Why? It is present in the form of rows and columns. It's detailed. So the horizontal ones are called rows and the vertical ones are called as columns. So in the same way, if you would like to have your data in a detailed manner, go and visualize your data using table chart. Okay, so I have loaded the table chart, but what is the use of, again having the same data? Anyhow, I have it in the Excel sheet, right? The stores data that I have, I already have it in a detailed manner. Should I again go and use the same columns for my visualization? What is the use? No, friends, I'm not going to, use the same columns that you would like to have it. What I'm trying to say is, whatever columns is your requirement, whatever the columns are your area of interest, whatever columns that you are actually trying to visualize, get only those columns from these tables. Will it accept? Yes, it will accept. The reason is we have relationships. We have a relationship, one connected with the other. And if you see the sales table is the center, connected to all of other rest of the tables, right? So what I'll go and do is I'll go with sales table. I'll click on that what arrow mark pointing towards the right side, and that gives me the list of fields, columns present inside sales table, and I can use any one of these columns. So what column should I go with? So I'm just going with the product IDs, friends. So again, how can we load a field inside a visual? There are three ways. Just selecting this or tick mark this box. So this one way will immediately take the data of this product ID and you'll have it in the visual. Okay, this is one way. If not, drag the field and leave it under the section, column section. Okay, if not, the third way, drag the field and leave it over the visual. Any one of the way is possible. I mean, anyone, ultimately the data gets visualized. The column that you are trying to visualize will be visualized. Okay, so any one of these three ways is possible. Good. And whenever you're working on any one of these visuals, you will get options for these visuals down to it, down to this lane. Okay, so down to this line, you'll have the options. For table chart, there is only one option. What is the option? Columns. So that means what all columns would you like to have in this table chart? That's what you are supposed to give. Apart from it, nothing else. There is no other option. Okay, so this is product ID. So there are in total 20 product IDs different product IDs. And what I'm doing is I have loaded from sales, but I don't have the information. What is a product name? The product names are available in products table, product ID, product name. So can I use this product name next to product ID? Yes. How? Again, any one of the way that we have discussed so far, done. So 101 product ID means a vacuum cleaner. 102 product ID is representing product name 4K TV. 103 is representing air purifier. So this is making sense. If I just have only product ID, will it make any sense? No, probably no. So I just added product names from product table. So what you are trying to say, Akhil? I'm trying to say that there are two tables and I'm using the fields. I'm using the columns from two different tables. Will it allow? Yes, it will allow. The reason is we have a connection between product table and sales table. Okay, so it allows us to have the products and the two columns from two different tables. Then what else can I bring, friends? Probably category. Under which category does this products fall in? Yes. Okay. So again, can I arrange them in the reverse direction? Once after adding them to the visual, can I arrange them, rearrange? Yes. See, if I want to have category next immediately to product ID, you know, click on left click on this category and drag it. You see that green color line? Okay. So whenever you see that green color line, just leave it. So this is actually helping us to adjust the columns. Okay. You can adjust the columns. Okay. And if you're not satisfied, again, you can click on Control Z. So Control Z works in Power BI desktop, but Control Z doesn't work in Power Query editor. Okay, so you remember that point, right? For undoing, we have that upgrade steps where we close. When we click on that cross mark, that step gets removed from the upgrade steps. So in Power Query editor, there is no Control Z, but in Power BI desktop, we have Control Z, undoing. Okay. So these three, and how many columns can I have under this section is, you see this white space, it means you can have n number of columns. You can bring n number of fields to this visual. But some options, once after adding one particular column, immediately it shows that option got filled. You will not find this white space. So it means for those type of options, you are supposed to use only one column. But here it says you can use multiple. So let me also bring probably quantity, how many quantity got sold. Yes. Actually, you just used quantity, right? Yes. But how it became sum of quantity, how it is using, that sum of quantity. So if you have a question, you see this drop down arrow mark pointing towards the downside. Okay, so just click on it. If you click on it, you'll get the list of options, friends. You'll get the list of options, and depending on the option, by default, if it is a numeric column, it goes for sum. Okay, if you don't want to have some of that values, go with it. Also goes with upon your requirement, average, maximum, minimum, count, whatever. Okay, so you have to choose your value. For me, sum is enough. If I don't want to have any of these aggregations, any of these mathematical operations to be done on the data, keep it as don't summarize. Keep it as don't summarize. So then what happens is data will not be added. I mean data will be as is. It does not summarize. Okay. So for me, sum is making sense. So vacuum cleaner, it got sold. 32 units got sold. That's what it is talking about. So for me, sum is making sense. I'll go with sum. Okay. And how can we change this column names? I'm not satisfied with sum of quantity. I'm not, for me, this is not making sense. Then how can I do it? Means under this columns option, you'll have the column names. Yes. Do one thing. Again, if you click on this drop down, you will have rename for this visual as option. So the first one is remove field. That means you can remove that field from the visual. And the second one means rename for this visual. Only for this visual, it renames. Okay. So instead of sum of quantity, let me keep it as uh, total quantity. Okay. After typing whatever is your requirement, click on enter. Immediately it reflects into the visual. In the visual, it reflects friends. Right. So total quantity is also done. Then what is the total amount that we have got from that particular product? Let us also add it. And now this is my table visual. See, I mean table chart. Is it in a detailed manner? Yes, obviously it is in a detailed manner. I have the product IDs, product names, categories to which they belong to, and then I also have the quantity that was sold for each and every product, and what is the amount that was collected. What is the amount that we have got with respect to each and every quantity? I can clearly observe. And now you have this data, the visual in your hand, and if you are able to arrange, even you can arrange these values, friends. You see the arrow marks. So for example, out of these products, I want to know which product is actually returning us less amount. So order it in ascending order, descending, ascending. Office chair resulting us in less amount. This is probably an insight for us. Why? Why is a question will be raised within ourselves, and probably the amount that we have kept for one individual office chair is huge. So that is the reason might be the customers are not interested in taking more office chairs. So probably we can go and give some discounts. So these are some kind of insights that we get, and we immediately apply some kind of actions. Okay, so we'll share the insights to the clients, and clients take some actions. My dear client, out of your products, out of your 120 products, less number or less amount that we have got is from office chair. Okay, so this office chair, why it is resulting us in less amount? It's uh, it's a question that you have to answer yourself. Might be the prices are high, or the design is not good, or what is the actual reason should be understood, and then they'll take our clients will take an action, friends. Okay, so in this way, a visual helps us to give n number of insights. The same data I also have here, but how can I able to interpret? How can I able to understand? That is the difference between the ordinary data and the data that was visualized using Power BI. Any BI tool helps us to give such kind of beautiful information. Wonderful insights can be grabbed. Okay, so when you want to visualize the data in a table, a detailed manner, go and use table chart. table visual. And Akhil, how do you get this total? Okay, so what are the rest of the options that we can use for table visual? We'll understand, friends. So this is just a table visual. Okay, so now what I'm doing is I'm adjusting it in length and width. Okay, both adjusted. Probably I'll give some more space. Yes. Now down to the filter, you observe some options. Yes. I'll first talk about these three. Then I'll go to the formatting options for the visual. Okay. So three dots, nothing but the more options that you have for these visual. Three dots are called as the technical name that was given is ellipse. In Power BI, these three dots are nothing but ellipse. Click on the ellipse, you'll get list of options. Okay, so we'll talk about all these options one by one. Export data. What do you mean by export data? If you feel this data is important, or if you are willing to, excuse me, if you are willing to export this data to, if you want to store the data, you can click on export data option. So that this data, what happens is that particular table will be stored as a CSV file. The data will be stored with a .csv format. So you give the file name and navigate the location wherever you want to keep this file. You can have that CSV file. So the same data can be stored into a CSV file. That is the first option. Second option says as show as a table. It is already table. Then what is the use of showing that as a table? Don't assume it, friends, because apart from table visual, rest of the visuals, for majority of rest of the visuals, we can also we also have the same option, that is show as a table. This show as a table helps us to display the data in a table way. See, we'll get in a table way. Okay, so again I have arranged it right, so it's not changing, but still, once if you are done, you can go back to the report level. So that means whatever might be the visual, you can visualize the data as a table. Okay, anyhow, we have the data in a table only, but what if you are using any other visual? The same option is available. Show as a table option will be available for rest of the visuals as well, so that the data will be visualized as a table, right? Then the next option is remove. So that means it removes this visual from the report. So each visual is called as tile. You remember tile? Yes. So this is called as a tile. Okay. I can also remove this visual from this report. I can remove this tile from this report. Then next one is automatically find clusters. If there are any clusters, okay. So Power BI being intelligent, it identifies the clusters automatically. Let us try. We got some information. Clustering supports one dimension and 1 to 15 measures. Please adjust the fields you are using accordingly and try again. So what's happening is it is clustering. It supports only one dimension, friends. But and moreover, we have more than this dimensions measures. So that is the reason it is unable to get the clusters, or it is unable to identify the groups. Okay, so I'm just closing this off. Probably we'll discuss that option in the next visuals. Then spotlight. What does this spotlight does is when you click on spotlight, so you can have multiple visuals in a report. Multiple tiles can be present in a report. So when you click on spotlight, that particular visual will have some kind of, see, Uh, did I uncheck? Yes. So when you, 1 minute. So when you use this spotlight, what happens is, you know, that particular visual will be highlighted across all these. I mean, among all these visuals present in a report, that particular visual will be highlighted with some kind of light. That's it. Then next to spotlight we have sorting the data. Sort ascending, sort descending. Okay, sort descending nothing but from big to small. Sort ascending is nothing but from small to big. But which column should be used for sorting, you are supposed to select. So under the sort by option, we have product ID, product name, category, total quantity, sum of total amount. So which column would you like to use? Okay, since I have used sum of total amount column, so it is by, it is using that column, and we have sorted in descending order. For example, let me take total quantity. See, based on total quantity, and if you would like to have it in descending order, ascending order, go and select ascending from small to big. So one way is you can directly do it over in the visual itself. If not, using the three dots, nothing but the ellipse. Yes, we can sort the data. Data can be sorted, right? Then next to ellipse, we have focus mode. So focus mode is like when you click on this option, focus mode, you know, out of all these visuals, it focuses only on the particular visual. So you can talk about, for example, there are 10 tiles in your report, and out of 10 tiles, there are two tiles, two visuals that you have to focus more. Then when you click on this focus mode, it redirects us to one page in the same report itself. Only it focuses only on that visual itself. Once if you start talking, and once if you're done with explaining this visual, you can go back to the report level. That is focus mode. And finally, the filters. So this filter is talking about the filters pane that we have. See, you can filter the data from here, friends. For example, another product name. Okay, I want to get the information only of 4K TV. See how it's filtering. Okay, so under the filters pane, it actually helps us to filter the data. Okay, so we'll talk about more about this filter pane in the coming visuals. Probably this might be just an introduction for you. That's it. Okay, I'll unselect it before that. Done. So these are the common options that you'll observe for all the visuals, not only for the table chart. For majority of these visuals, you'll find these three options as same. Okay, then let us discuss about the formatting options for table chart. So how do we get formatting options for table chart? For any chart, you have to select the chart. I have selected. Then go to the next option, format your visual option. So this will give me the list of options, formatting options for that specific chart. The first one is style presets. So in which style do you want to have your table chart? So by default, you'll have it in the default view. If not, you can go with the none. So this is like basic table. If not, you can keep it in the minimal style. This is the minimal style. Whatever you feel better for you, just go with the style, friends. Bold header, so headers get uh, highlighted with bold. Alternating rows, so alternating rows will be highlighted with a different background color, if you see. Okay, then contrast alternating rows, so alternate rows will be contrasted. So this is dark and this is contrast, dark contrast. So there are multiple styles. You have to choose your own style. Okay. Then next to contrast alternating style, alternating rows, we have flashy rows. The same, but we have changed the background color. Okay, so this is actually good for me. It's good. Then along with the flashy rows, we also have bold headers. So the same flashy rows are available along with the bold headers and sparse. Would you like to have your sparse is nothing but empty, friends? Okay, so probably you'll not find any what these grid lines. The lines you'll not find for the rows and columns. So it is actually the style of sparse and condensed. So it's fixed like a table. So if you are not satisfied with any of these styles, you can just click on reset to default. So the default one will be given as is. Okay. Next to style presets, we have grid. There is an option called grid. So this grid, you see by default the horizontal grid lines are on. If you don't want to have these horizontal lines, you can make it off. See, between the rows, you observe. I made it off. But I cannot understand whether it is on or off because of the color, friends. Let me use a different color so that you'll understand. Now, probably, yes. Orange color. Grid lines. Only horizontal. Huh? Is it not available vertical? Yes, it is also available vertical. But before going to vertical, let us complete of horizontal. I can also increase the width of this line. Probably 2, 3, your wish. Okay, then I'll do the same for vertical lines as well. I'll make it on. Now I see the grid lines, vertical grid lines, but I don't want a light color. I'll go with, dark, and I'll increase the width of the line. Same, the process is same. Okay, I'm not doing something new. Whatever is present over here, the formatting options, I'm trying to use them. That's it. Okay, then border. So you still, if you observe, only for the values we see these grid lines. But do you find any borders for this table? No, there are no borders. Probably if I make it big, still it's going, right? It's going beyond. Hmm. So this is also good enough. Huh. So when it comes to border, would you like to have it each and every border, or only for the column headers, or only for the values, or totals only for this? So you have to select. Let me go with all first. Where for all, where you would like to have? I would like to have at the top, then bottom. See, the moment I'm clicking, it is immediately affecting the visual. Left, towards the left side will have, then towards the right side. But for me, blue is not required. I'll go with orange. Let me increase the width. So one thing that I can tell you is, if you are comfortable in learning, I mean, if you have got enough knowledge on these formatting options, you can play with your visuals. You can play with our visuals. Then next to borders, we also have options called row padding. So it allows us to keep some spaces. Okay, so I will not go with this because it makes us big. Okay, and if you're not satisfied, again the same option, reset to default. I feel like this is good. Okay, I don't want to go with the default one. This is fine for me. Moreover, it's making some kind of sense. So I'll not go with the default one. I'm satisfied. Now I'll go to the next option, that is values. So you see the values? Yes. We have the formatting options for the values. The font style, font size, whether you want to have the values in bold color, I mean bold, do you want to make them bold? Use italic, make it slightly inclined, or would you like to underline it? Yes, everything is available. Okay, so you can change the text friends. Okay, if not, by default you'll get black color text, the color you get black. So probably you change it. This one, it's not making sense. Mm, yes, background color, let it be. And so I'm not as I have told earlier, I'm not that much good at identifying the colors and all. I'm just using whatever is present over there. Okay, so just ignore that part. So just change the text friends. For the text I have used different colors. This is a skill of a data analyst. A data analyst have to make these reports, dashboards, the reporting dashboarding things, they should be very attractive. How can they make attractive is by changing or different using these color palettes. They'll make these reports beautiful. The moment the client watches these reports or dashboards, their eyes should glow. That's how data analysts, they'll be paid very huge in the market. Okay, so not just because everyone, even a school kid, if you teach a school kid this Power BI, he or she will learn, right? Everything is available over here, but at the end of the day, skill is also important, friends. Using the right combinations, using the right color palette and all comes from experience. So I'll go back to the default one. I'm not satisfied with the text color. Then, so far we have done only for these values present in the table. I can do the same thing for column headers. Column headers means ID, column names. Okay, the same options. Text color, background color, alignment, text wrap means would you like to wrap the text? If you have a big column name and if you would like to have it in the next line, then you make sure you keep it on. If not, keep it off so that text will not be wrapped. So this option we probably will come across in Excel, wrap text, right? So the same option. Then for totals, yes, even for the totals also. So previously I was asking a question to myself, how did the totals come? Because under the totals, if you keep this button off, if you make this button off, you'll not observe the totals. You'll not observe the totals. But totals, if you have totals only, then it is making sense. What is the overall amount that was collected, or what is the overall amount that we have got from all these products? It is $25, $20,000. Okay, so totals will make sense. Again, what should be the total label? Would you like to have total itself? By default, you'll get total. If not, you can keep grand total. Okay, upon your requirement, change it. Then you can change the font size, make it bold. By default, it will be bold. If you want to like to underline it. Okay, so text will be black. Okay, background will be by default kind of white. You can change it. So the options are same, but you know, for headers we have separate, for totals we have separate, for the values we have separate, but the options are same, right? This is also good enough. Next we have specific column. What is a specific column? Specific column means out of this entire table, you are supposed to focus on one column will be there, right? So that one column is very important for you. So if you would like to work on one such column, Power BI, even under the formatting options, it gives you an option like called as specific column. And for that specific column, you are supposed to identify. From the list, you have to identify. Let me go and use sum of total amount. So this is the important column for me. What is the total amount that was, that we got from all the products? So this is the important column. Even for the client, yes. So would you like to apply it for header, total, and the values? Yes, I want to apply for the entire column. So upon your understanding, okay. So if you are not interested to apply for headers or the values, ignore. Okay, make it off. Now, text color, it's unchanged, right? So you can change it. Let me go with probably a dark one. See, so only for one column you can highlight. It's not disturbing the other columns, friends. If you see, only for one column, you see it's highlighted. Even the background color, I'll go with a light one. Okay, if it is not making sense, I assume, okay, it's making some sense, but you know, we can highlight only one specific column out of the entire table visual. Whatever you feel that important column, okay, you can highlight it. Then the display units, would you like to get the value as it is, or would you like to display it in thousands or millions, billions, and all? Because we don't have such much big values, I'm just going with the none. That means the values will be displayed as is. Okay, even we can have a control over the decimal values as well. Okay, then this is not satisfactory. I'm going with reset to default. One last important formatting option, that is cell elements. Cell elements is an important formatting option for table visual, friends. What does this cell elements talk about? This cell elements talk about the values that you have in each and every column. Out of all these columns, you will have one such important column in which or on which you are going to discuss more to the client, right? So that one such column values, if you want to display, yes, first, initially, on which column you are going to apply, select the column. It is sum of total profit. Then, by default, all of these will be off. That is background color. Would you like to add any background color? But what makes the difference between specific column and cell elements is, in specific column, when I have used specific column, for all the values, the background color is same. But for cell elements, the background color that I have used under cell elements, is the background color same for all the values? No. Why? Depending upon the value, present in each cell, it is giving background color. How can I understand it? Just sort it. See, the big number takes a dark color. As it is going down, it is making light. Why only blue? You can change it. So this is called conditional formatting, friends. So when you click on this conditional formatting, it allows us to change. Okay, even you can add a value, enter your customized value also. You can change the colors. I'm not going to work on all these things because it will take a lot of time. Okay, then if not, font color, only the font color. See, again, for the highest value, it is going with the dark color, and as the value is going to go down, it's making light. Okay, so this is not actually, probably if you are not satisfactory, make it off. Then next to font color, I see data bars. What is this data bars? Data will be represented in the form of bars. Oh, so that means 2375 will have the entire bar. Okay, so for rest of the values, the value will be compared with 2375, and according to it, the bar length will be decided or the height will be decided. Okay, so what is the use of having such kind of bars is, if you feel that these values are very confidential, if you don't want to display these values, so there what we can do is go to the conditional formatting and keep it as show bar only and click on OK. So the values will not be disclosed. For example, you are giving a demo to your entire team, probably your profits and all. And if you don't want to discuss all your things to your entire team, there will be some confidential information, right? Yes. So that confidential information cannot be disclosed to each and every department, right? So in such cases, you represent the data with some bars. So which product is giving me more amount? Smart thermostat. So that is leading, more amount is being returned from this particular product. Probably we'll increase the production for these smart thermostat, or we'll come up with some more, discounts, so that still we'll get the amount more from this particular product, right? So I hope it's making some sense, friends. I'll make it off. Then icons, you can also represent the data with some icons upon the requirement. Okay, again, if you don't want to represent the data as is, you can represent with some icons. Go with the conditional format. You can change, add the icons. Okay, so up to this percent to this percentage, I want diamond. Then next percentage, triangle. Finally, circle. In such ways, we can also come up with n number of rules. Okay, you can change the styles. Your wish. Okay, and I'll make it off. So these are the important formatting options for table visual. Okay, so we have successfully completed table visual, friends, and I don't want to make it elongated. I'll just stop it here. If you have any questions, yes, you're free to ask your questions. But as I have discussed earlier, Power BI is completely a hands-on tool. Okay, so instead of just listening, if you do or practice, if you have hands-on only, then it would make some sense, right? So friends, the feedback link has been provided. Just provide your valuable feedback before you leave, and also thank you so much for your feedback. So before you leave, just give a like and also share across multiple channels, friends. Okay, across your relatives, friends, your connections and all. Ask them to join these videos and get some information regarding Power BI. Right. So if no questions, the feedback link has been provided. Provide your feedback and then you're free to leave. Okay. So successfully we have completed the first visual of the visualization screen, the Power BI table chart. Probably from tomorrow we'll make it a bit fast, because all these options will be same across the different visuals. So we'll understand the rest of the visuals in the coming sessions as well. Right. I see no questions. Thank you so much for joining. And you know, we'll meet in the next session. Until then, take care, friends. Have a great day. Signing off. Bye.